Everybody, it's Pat Jones, and I'm glad you could join us here today to talk about bunker sands. There's no bigger trend in the industry right now than remodeling and renovation, and at the heart of that are bunkers. And when you're doing bunkers, there's lots of choices you got to make, but the most important one is probably which sand you're going to choose and how that impacts playability and maintenance and long-term investment. So with me today are two leading experts on this very topic. Terry Gwinn and Eric Ludewig from BESTSAND. Terry, how are you today?
Good, Pat. How are you? Glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're here with me. You're a veteran. You've been doing this for close to 25 years now. Have you ever seen anything like this market?
Pat, it's unbelievable what the golf industry is and where it's leading to, and how much money and renovation is out there to do new golf courses, renovation, and the like. And the trend is still going on, I think, for at least next year, probably into the year after.
For sure, for sure. Eric, how about you? You haven't been quite doing this for a quarter century yet, but you've put a lot of sand on a lot of golf courses. Have you seen anything like this? And what do you take from this trend?
Yeah, I've been doing this since 2012, and right around 2020, 2021, the pro angle sales nearly doubled, which was a feat to keep up with. But it's a good problem. And the footprint of sand that we're shipping it's really remarkable. From Nebraska to Florida all the way to the East Coast, it's just been remarkable, the growth.
Just amazing. And I'll go ahead and address the elephant in the living room. You two competed against each other for a long time, and now you're collaborating and working together because Pro Angle, that Eric's worked with for a long time, is now part of BESTSAND. So just so all of a sudden now you're collaborating. What does that feel like, Eric? What is it? What have you come to respect and realize now about what Terry's been doing? And then I'll ask Terry the same question in a minute.
Yeah, it's funny. A week or two after the merger was finalized, Terry and I are sitting in a golf cart together, and we wouldn't be seeing the same room together prior to that. So, we've always been respectful competitors. Both companies make very good products. So instead of fighting against each other, it's nice rowing in the same direction. And really, with by the acquisition by BESTSAND has it's opened up a lot of resources for me in terms of logistics and operations and production. We were owned by a small company, and it was getting difficult to keep up. So that's changed immensely.
Terry, how much fun has it been getting to know Eric better and have this ability to provide the two greatest sand products in the industry under one roof?
Well, it's funny because, like Eric said, I mean, we were fierce competitors. I mean, he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, trying to price this, trying to price that. But now, it's nice to have the best of both worlds. I mean, we've got, like you said, two of the best bunker sands in the country, and what we've come to see and come to learn is that we ship a lot of sand to a lot of places. I mean, Pro Angle, BESTSAND, and I think more than anything else that when we came together, I'm not going to say it was easy. It was not easy looking across the way and going, "Oh my God, my competitors right here in the same room doing the same thing." And for what, 20 years, 24 years, we were at each other's throat. But now it's kind of nice. We had both on the same team. We still trying, we still get the bunker sand out. Logistically, it makes it a lot easier to do all
Sure.
this. We're both on the same team. We use rail, we use trucks, we use this. So it's been a learning curve, but it's been a really good learning curve. How's that?
That's a great way to put it. So when you talk about logistics and you talk about the trend. So as you work with customers and they begin this process of looking at their golf course, maybe they're looking ahead at a renovation. How do you guide them through the process of assessing what bunker sand is right for them in the situation? Eric, what kind of process do you lead them through to make some decisions about which sand is right for them?
Yeah, I think asking some questions about what they're trying to accomplish, and what their pain points are. you know, and I think the most common pain point is washouts and drainage, loss of sand by wind. Maybe there's sands that broke down in the past. So I think it's a lot of questions at first is how can we help?
Yeah,
What's your pain point?
right. Terry, what comes to mind when you have that first conversation? What are you trying to probe for and find out
Well,
what they need?
I think more than anything else, I mean, number one is price. Number two is how am I going to get it here? The third question that comes up, or maybe even before that, is what, how long are you guys going to be in business? How long will you, what's my supply going to be like in 3, 4, 5 years down the road?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of guys out there. There's only a few of us out here that produce good quality bunker sand, and we know
Mhm.
who they are. So consequently, how you've had a couple companies that come in, they produce a bunker sand, then they go back out of business. So consequently, it's like, if I need sand in 2 years, will you guys still be around? That's a big question right now. And with our two plants and the reserves that we have, I think that answers a lot of questions and makes it a little bit easier sell too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you talked a little bit about shipping, Eric, and I think that's been the big question mark when I talk to people about their sand choices is how to figure out costs and stuff like that. Where can people find information about how to do those kinds of estimates, or should they call you? How do you like to work with people when they're coming in the door and trying to find out, hey, I've got 90,000 square feet of bunkers. What's it going to cost me to replace those?
Sure. I mean, it's a call to either Terry or I, and we've both been working with. We try to use logistics companies that understand this business, that
Mm-hmm.
know what it's like to be in a country club parking lot, that know what it's like where there's when maintenance shops sometimes are off of a side road and have we don't just hire any trucker to come out there and be at their facility. We work with people that know what they're doing. So, and we keep on top of them to make sure that the rates are competitive because this is an expensive investment. We know that, so we try to work with people that are going to give our customers the best service and the best rates.
And to get it there on time, the way it's supposed to be, and delivered properly.
That's right. I'm sure, like Terry and I get calls every day from trucking companies, but we tend to stick to the people that know our business and people that we have experience with.
That makes sense. What other questions typically, Terry, are they asking you on the front end about trying to make a choice? Because and then there are some clubs that obviously a lot of folks like the Signature 900, but there are some clubs that default because of color or preferences on angularity to the 700. What do you tell them? How do you differentiate for them?
Well, I think, like Eric said, you probe, you ask questions, what are they looking for? How are they looking for it? What's the handicap of the golf course? I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
consequently, I mean, if you're looking for a very firm sand for a high handicap club, you may not want the pro angle and or the 900. You may want to switch to 700. And it all,
Mm-hmm.
I revert back to Mark Wilson at Valhalla when he told me a long time ago. He said, Terry, the 700 is something that I can work with. I can manipulate that sand for when the PGA guys come in here for everyday play. They can blast out of it. So so consequently, that's something that you probe, you ask questions, and it's not throwing 900 or a pro angle under the bus by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah,
It just gives them another option to take a look at. You know,
right.
the other thing that comes up too is where's the golf course located? In relationship to our plants. You know, are we trucking? Are we looking at rail? Well, rail, I didn't know you guys could rail material. Yeah, we're doing a lot of rail, out of Chardon, Ohio. We're doing a lot of rail out of Emmett, Idaho. And so consequently, that brings up a whole nother ball of wax to what can I do? How much can I store? How many rail cars can I get? What's on a rail car? All that stuff, it comes into play that you have to be very diligent about talking to the people, making sure they understand the dynamics of guys. I need a spot to store some sand, whether it's 500 tons, 300 tons, 1,000 tons, whatever that number is. And you have to make sure that they understand the dynamics of where they're going to store it, how they're going to store it, Is it going to blow? Is it going to, all that good stuff. So there's a
Mhm.
lot that goes into the decision of a club to see how they're going to do it, how they're going to buy sand, and what they're going to do with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and it's the voice of experience talking, and I think that's why it's important that folks do talk with you guys at
Yes.
Best
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because you've got this experience. So one of the things that a lot of clubs do is try to engage their members, their players in this process of choosing a new sand. So they're doing a remodel, which hundreds and hundreds of courses doing remodels right now, and they want to make sure that they've address the needs of their players, as you mentioned earlier, high handicap, low handicap, or whatever. What kind of side by side testing things do you recommend? Because I think a lot of clubs will put out 3 or 4 practice bunkers with different sand in them. Eric, how does that work for you when you're trying to help clubs make decisions about which sand is right for them? How does setting up those tests matter?
Sure, Pat. Testing, Terry and I advocate for testing. There's no better test than being out there in the real world where you have a bunker that's seeing rain, wind, traffic, and the players need to hit out of them. We get asked. I get asked a lot. What's the difference between the Pro Angle and 900? And they're very similar sands. Their gradations are different, but they also feel different. And
Mhm.
so when a club might split a bunker, half Pro Angle, half 900, or and other sands in the marketplace, they may put 5 sands in. We've had courses do as many as 5 and 6 different sands, and they really just observe them over time.
Mhm.
And when it comes, for the members, they're not as concerned about the performance of the bunker in terms of maintenance because they're not the ones that have to put it back together after it rains, but they do want to see how that sand feels. So the best thing to do is to put it in the ground and watch it, play in it.
One of the things in interviewing people about this superintendents was they tried to make sure that the sands that they were presenting to the members for choices were ones that were maintainable, that they were that first and foremost they fit the needs of the club and the maintenance crew, and then making sure that they passed that basic test, then they could have the golfer feedback. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Sorry, I think it does. But the other thing too is what Eric was talking about. You may have 2 or 3 or 4 sands out there, but I try to tell the guys, do not put a label on each of those sands. Put A, B, C, and D. Let the members choose the sand they want, and then we can come back and say, okay, we like Pro Angle sand. Okay, now what's the price of Pro Angle? How do we get it? Where's it going to come from? All of that stuff, rather than going, oh, I like Pro Angle because Pro Angle's down the street, or I like this because it's down the street. So
Right.
that's why I like labeling it A, B, C, or D, because then there's a voting box somewhere, and
Right.
they put it in A, B, C, or D, and then I've sold, I can't tell you how many bunker projects like that, rather than going best sand, Pro Angle, or something else there. You know what I mean? So I
Yep,
think that
I remember a very young Paul Latshaw
yeah,
during his first turn at Marion way back when. That's exactly what they did. And as I recall, they ended up using the old sand, but they just cleaned it up and said, "We want the old sand back."
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
it's
So,
just
but
one of those things.
it's a very uh, uh, very good way for a club to choose what they want to do, rather than saying, no, I got this or that or whatever, or down the street has this too. So
For sure. So, Eric, when you go in and talk to them about pro angle and you're sort of talking about characteristics, kind of the fundamentals, what are the key characteristics that you focus on for pro angle in terms of why it might be the right choice for that club?
Sure, Pat. I always start with the data. Although the membership may be choosing the sand based on feel, the superintendent needs to really look at the numbers, the infiltration rates, the penetrometer, which is the resistance to fried egg lies, a bridging number. If they're using an aggregate liner, we're going to make sure that sand is gonna bridge.
Mhm.
And most importantly, I think the mineral purity, the chemical composition of the sand is really what matters. In these short-term tests where members are choosing, they're not gonna experience what that sand's gonna be like in 5 years. But all sands are different, and the signature series sands and Pro Angle are very, very high purity quartz sands, 99%. So there's not a lot of impurities that are going to break down and wash away. So, I would just recommend to people that are shopping sands is ask your supplier, what's it made of? Ask for a chemical composition. It's really important.
Right. What does that look like? What does that chemical composition test look like? Is it a big, thick document, or is it just kind of a page that summarizes what you need to do?
It's just a page that says it's what the purity of the silica, what calcium may be in there, what magnesium in there.
Right. And that's something you probably run into difficulties sometimes with testing for other things like angularity and stuff. Terry, what do you tell them when you are trying to help them make decisions about testing and about which characteristics they're looking for on their choice of sand?
Well, I think Eric said, you look at the data, so consequently, we have, several labs out there who do testing for us, whether it be Turf Diagnostics, Istrix, or whatever else, and they are the Bibles that superintendents go by. So consequently, every superintendent that I talk to is asking for data. Let me see your testing data. Let me see your testing data. Where's the lie? What is it? And Eric was right. The pentrometer is a big one. Infiltration is another big one too. I mean, what's it drain at? The other part of it is too, okay, I'm using ABC liner. Does your sand is it compatible with, this liner, or this liner? Which pretty much all of our sands are compatible with all the liners out there. It's just a matter, you choose it, and then we can go from there and make sure that the lining company is squared away with what bunker sand we're going to use. So yeah,
right, you're sort of agnostic about the type of shell or liner that's being used. The sand is the sand. It's not
correct.
all that is not all that relevant to the particular liner or things like that. Does it matter?
Well, I think the good thing is that both of our sands, whether it be Pro Angle and or the best sands, are compatible with these liners that are out there. So that I mean, we've used, you name it, we've used it. I mean, as far as putting our sand on top of a liner, whether it's Billy Bunker, Capcon, Bunker Solutions, Flexscape, all of them. It was a sand dam and a sand trapper. Now it's changed quite a bit. But
it has evolved.
Yeah, but all of our sands are not, they're compatible with all the liners out there. So I think the other thing too is when they're looking at these liners, they work with the Billy Bunkers, the Capcons, and blah blah blah, to make sure that their gravels are compatible with what we're putting in also.
Yeah, when you've over the years kind of looked at when people have come back to you and said we made the wrong choice, typically what choice did they make wrong? Was it we tried to go cheap and the sand quality wasn't what we wanted? What have you learned about why people sometimes regret choosing a less well tested sand?
So there is a story out there, but I won't mention any names. But they put in a different sand, and they took it out 6 months later and put our sand back in, and it was a local sand, and it was a local brown sand, and they end up coming back and using our sand. And the bottom line was, I think that local sand was round. I think that the buried lies were something. I think that the sand was not washed. I mean, I'm only an outsider looking in, so I can't, but anyway, that's part of it is, we found out that we tried to go cheap with it and we couldn't do it because the bunkers were not performing the way that we would like them perform as a club. Yeah. How about that?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Eric, I know in your experience, you've probably seen a lot of leading clubs choose Pro Angle, and I think that has some influence. I like the idea of the ABCD blind testing, but at the same time, I think that Pro Angle and particularly Signature 900 now have this reputation of being kind of the choices of top clubs. What are some clubs that have really embraced Pro Angle and been kind of representative customers for you and Pro Angle?
Sure. Some of our oldest Pro Angle customers are Deer Run, where the John Deere Classic is. They've been a customer since I want to say 1999, and they've done one renovation in all that time between then and now. So it performs for them. Obviously, it lasted a long time. and they've come back to it. And that's the main thing. When we have customers come back to us, we know we've got a product that they can count on, and there have been some other sands to come into the market, and we've had some customers leave and try those sands, and 10 years later they might come back and they just said it just, we could tell the difference after a time period, but we've got some, we've got, Medina number 3. They're on their second installation. They renovated in 19 and 23. We've got Panther National in Palm Beach Gardens that's hosting the Skins game this year.
Yep.
So Concession Club has been a long time customer of ours in Florida, probably since the late 90s as well. So the customers that choose us, they stick with us. And if they try something else, a lot of them come back.
Yeah. So Terry, same thing. What are some of the 900 customers that you love? And then there's a 700 customer down the street from me here in Columbus, I think, too, that you might want to mention.
Well, so there are, I mean, knock on a little wood, we've been very, very fortunate. We've had a lot of the top 100 golf courses use our product. And there's a list out there, but I mean, I give you, Oakland Hills is a very good one. I mean, and Philip does a great job up there. We've done Oakmont 3 times now. We've done Butler National 2 or 3 times now also. So we're very fortunate to have some of the top clubs that have used our product over the years. I'm sitting here, I wrote some stuff down. You've got Interlochen up in Minnesota. So you've got, and has been. We just picked up Shadow Creek out in Las Vegas, out in the Las Vegas market. Dallas National is a first-time customer also. But as far as, coming back, I mean, we've done, in my 25 years, I think there's probably 10 or 12 or 15 golf courses that I've done at least 2 or 3 times with our bunker sands. So, that's a testament to us. I think it's a testament to the logistics and the testament to, okay, we trust these guys. We know they got product. We know we can get the same product over and over again, which is really, really good.
Right. How about color? Because that pops up regularly in terms of what influences decisions. How flexible is color when it comes to the signature series, Terry? What do you recommend for people who are looking for a little more off-white versus hard white?
Well, unfortunately, we only have the one color sand out of Chardon, Ohio now, and even out of Emmett too. So consequently, I mean, if they're looking for a quote unquote off-white color or a little tan color, I can't help them. I have, our sands, with the crushing of the stones and the white stones, it comes out white. So consequently, is it brilliant white? It's not brilliant white. It's more of a creamy color white. So consequently, it's, I can't help them if they want an off-color sand. And the other part of it is, the fortunate thing is there's not a lot of other sands in the market out there that are a silica product that is a off-color brown sand or a tan sand or something like that. So that, that's just something that helps us out in the long run too.
How about you, Eric? What do you see in terms of what people are looking for with color as this huge renovation boom continues?
Yeah, as you get into the Midwest, their native sands are river sands. So they're dark in color. It's what they have had in their courses for decades. And so here we come introducing a product that's lighter in color. And initially it's a difficult sell. But once it's installed and it performs, the superintendents report back. Prior to the project, all I heard about was the color change. After the installation, all we hear about is how well it performs. They don't even mention the color. So it's just not something we control. It's the geology of what we're crushing.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So moving forward in this market, you think about, we talked about some of these top clubs that have chosen it. Why is it so important to invest in good bunker sand? Because you can always find something cheaper. And you can always find something maybe that comes from a little bit closer. But why does it really matter to invest in a higher quality product with that testing and being able to determine things? Terry, what do you tell folks when you're trying to tell them the most important reason they ought to make this investment?
Well, I think when talking to people, and I've already hit on it one other time, is we're not going anywhere. We've been around for a while. You know, you can go to your local, and here you go again, you can go to your local sand company, but on the other hand, they're more construction sands. They're looking for building products. They're looking for road stuff. They're looking for concrete. They're looking for all kinds of outlets for their sand. Where we are an industrial sand company, and our one of our main businesses is bunker sand. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to be here for a while. So when you come back in 4 or 5, 6 years, hey, I need another couple loads of sand, we're going to be here. So, and I think the other, you try and talk guys into using a good quality sand, and they come to find, like Eric said, you may come back in 5 years and say, oh my gosh, I have to get rid of the sand because our other company went out of business. So now what am I going to do? And we find out that some of these guys are trying to put our sand over some of their local sands, and it just doesn't work out very well. So you try and talk them into doing it right the first time so that they won't have issues down the road. But I think the other part of it is that we're here. We have reserves. We have sand. We're going to have sand for quite some time. And I think that's a huge selling piece from the local sands of what they're trying to get elsewhere.
Yeah. Eric, have you seen more people who've sort of embraced the higher quality product as they're investing millions of dollars in renovations? Why wouldn't you want the best quality product?
Yeah, the market talks about labor. It's a tough labor market out there. And these higher quality sands, they do reduce maintenance. They do reduce washouts. They do last longer. There's some clubs that are able to rake their bunkers every day, and there's some clubs that don't have labor anywhere near the ability to do that. And both clubs have great bunkers when they invest in a quality sand.
Yep.
So, and then course playability, Pat. Course playability is something huge too. That it's Friday night, it rains 2 or 3 inches overnight, and if you have an inferior sand in there, it's going to probably be washed out on Saturday morning when those golfers show up. It's not raining anymore, but the bunkers aren't playable. When you invest in a higher quality sand, odds are you're there just fixing a couple of cracks here and there, and your golfers are ready to play. And the same would hold true for events that you've planned months in advance. You have a rain event the day before, and you're going to be in trouble if you don't have a good sand in there.
And that's hundreds of hours of maintenance that could be applied to details and important stuff that players are really paying attention to, and they don't get to enjoy those details if your entire agronomic team is out trying to fix bunkers every day. Terry, kind of as you think about this trend that we're seeing now, what do you think is the most important thing? The superintendent who's renovating bunkers, what do you think the most important thing is that they should know about Best Sand?
You put me on the spot, didn't you?
I did.
I think, if the quality of sand, I think is like Eric said, I think, if they're going to line that sand, that we can line it with any liner company out there. It doesn't matter which one it is. I think having access to repeat sand over and over again is a big one too. I think logistics of getting them sand when they want it, and if we have it readily available, is another thing. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to that really don't understand who we are and what we're about. Well, how long are you guys going to be in business? Are you going to be there for a while? And I think that is a really, really big one, especially outside of the Midwest when we're talking to other people. That's a big one. That really is.
Yeah, not going anywhere. Kobe is going to be around for a long time. Big company, big investment in this industry, and commitment to quality. For sure.
You mean Best Sand? You mean Best Sand? Not Best Sand. There you go.
I think I said Kobe.
Best Sand.
These mines the mines in Chardon and Thompson have both been operating continuously since the 30s.
Correct.
Yeah. Really impressive. Makes me proud to be in Northern Ohio. So at some point, maybe things will change, but for the time being, I suspect your phones are going to be ringing from superintendents and construction folks and architects who are all moving forward on renovations. We're seeing new courses come in now too.
Yes,
so it's something that I certainly never expected was going to happen, and it's pretty cool. And I'm pretty glad you guys are here to partner up and go take this market on full steam.
Appreciate it, Pat. Thanks. It's all
Sure.
good.
So one more thing, if you want to find out more about Covia and the Best Sand brands, you can go to their website and you can find all sorts of information, but there's great information on there about testing and about what to look for and some of the specific differences between the various sand products that are offered by Covia Best Sand. So go to the website, check it out, and don't be afraid to call either Eric or Terry and ask them a bunch of really hard questions because that's what they're there for.
That's correct.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.